What's up, everybody, and welcome to the All Elite Wrap-Up. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. I'm the OG Fit Kid, Thomas Montalto, and joining me as usual.
Live from the No Sales Studios, it's the Ace of the Tavern, Stephen Acefield, and it's just the two of us again. We're missing Mike Belcaster, but happy anniversary to the Lovebirds. 10 years.
Celebrating their 10th anniversary. I hope you guys are having an awesome romantic night somewhere, and hopefully we're all back together, get the band back together again next week. So,
oh yeah, man, but it's nice to be back here with you. This is definitely an interesting episode of Dynamite. From what I've read briefly online, the 30 minutes we've had in between the end of Dynamite and also the start of the show, some mixed reviews. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
I enjoyed the episode. I was shocked. Let's get right into the quick thing that we just talked about. Jeff Jarrett debuting and looking like it's going to a nice storyline of what's going like Jeff Jarrett versus AEW. Like,
yeah, it seems like he's playing the Dan Lambert role a little bit, and like kind of what people wanted from Jim Cornette. So very interesting. Curious to see your thoughts. I mean, did you see Jeff Jarrett's run in GCW for a little bit last year?
I did see a little bit of it. Yeah. And you know what? The guy, he's still got it. Look at the shape he's in. What'd you think of his promo tonight?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge Jeff Jarrett guy, and he's done a lot for the business, but I always think, I think back to his WCW run when he was champion, specifically in TNA when he was champion, when he was booking himself to be like Triple H. It was weird, if I'm being honest, just the execution of the whole thing. So let's go through, if you guys didn't see it, there was a masked man dressed as Sting. We weren't sure who it was, and that was not Jeff Jarrett.
Oh.
And it couldn't have been anybody worse. It was the Too Bad Chad's best friend, Cole Carter, who got absolute crickets from the audience. They had no idea who he was.
It was like you could have heard a pin drop in that room when literally, I don't think those people knew who he was.
No idea. And I think we've been watching Dynamite every single week. And when we saw, I had to think twice about who it was. Like, yeah, it's Cole Carter, but I saw the factory logo on his pants. So that's what kind of clued me in. It was someone from the factory, but if you're there in the audience, you're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. And like I said, I like Jarrett. I thought he kind of rambled tonight and talked a little too much. Sometimes less is more. I think maybe they should have kind of led up to the story instead of just coming out firing with it. Like, because why? Why all of a sudden is he against them? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm here for it. I always love like coming in and going against the company type of stories. It just seemed kind of like maybe last minute thrown together or something.
I mean, I'm kind of into it if they're going to lean into let him be the voice of all the critics online. Like I alluded to before, the Jim Cornette, the vocal critics of the people that are on Twitter and saying the things about All Friends Wrestling, and let him be the voice. And Jeff Jarrett knows how to get heat. He's been doing it his whole career. My beef with Jeff Jarrett goes back to his GCW run, and I alluded to it before. I'm loyal to Game Changer Wrestling. I love what they've been putting on. He has yet to give Effie his win back, and I'm pissed about that. He's been going over to WWE to do his producer role. He was special referee at SummerSlam. He has yet to give the win back to Effie, and I think I think Effie deserves better treatment than what he was given at Hammerstein Ballroom. From what I understand, reading the dirt sheets, the whole finish of the match was changed last second, where Effie was supposed to go over, and then Jarrett had promised him, hey, you're going to get the one over on me the next time we go out. And Jarrett hasn't been in GCW since, and Effie was on Renee Paquette's podcast and didn't really speak pretty fondly of Jeff Jarrett. So I don't know. That's been sticking in me a little bit watching, because I think you got to get back to the younger generation, especially with this old outlaw thing. I liked where it was going in GCW. I hope it's not him putting himself over in AEW, which would suck.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Obviously Shawn was supposed to get his win back, and Hogan, we know that story, but
yeah,
we did get the classic Shawn Michaels sell job at 2005 SummerSlam, which to me is one of the more hilarious spots ever.
Yeah. It's true. That was Shawn Michaels selling his ass off. One of the best, craziest sell jobs you ever will see. Did you see the blood just pouring out of Darby's head onto the mat after the guitar shot?
Yeah, for sure. And, Darby wanted the guitar shot straight to the head. And I was surprised he didn't take the stroke similar to how Effie did it at Hammerstein Ballroom with the broken guitar around your neck. Darby would seem like the guy who'd want to take something like that. But yeah, man, I like the Last Outlaw gimmick. I think it's something that has legs. I don't think we saw all of it through GCW, where it's a different, I guess, change for Jeff Jarrett's character. Obviously, he can't be the same old school Jeff Jarrett that he was. if he's leading a faction that I guess would be Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Cole Carter. I don't know what it looks like to me, but if he's going to do the Dan Lambert thing and just run down AEW every week on TV, I don't know if I'm here for that. But if it has legs to build future stories and also build up younger stars, I guess I'm okay with it. But I guess I'm holding out judgment until we see what happens. I'm not too sour on it like everybody else.
No, I'm not going to be sour on it yet because, like you said, you got to let it see where it's going. But you know what would be cool is all of a sudden if Jeff Jarrett brings in Joey Janela, like start bringing in guys who could actually have an issue with AEW. Bring in Marco Stunt. Like maybe you go that angle. Like,
it seemed like he wanted to bring in Memphis guys. He mentioned Memphis and how his family brought through.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's very similar to when WWF brought in NWA, and that flopped like hell in the 90s when they did that whole thing. But something similar, the old school wrestling, the old mentality. Again, I bring up his name again, Jim Cornette, that same voice that says wrestling should be how it used to be in the old days. AEW is this backyard mud wrestling, and let Jeff Jarrett get the heat that way. I just hope it builds up other characters. I'm not sure exactly where you go with this, but
gotta be a purpose.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's got, like I said, I thought tonight's promo less would have been more. I thought he just kind of sounded like he was saying too much after a while. So
yeah, he ran down his resume, as we all hear. He talked about all the world championships that he booked himself into. He got the "You Still Suck" chance, and he stumbled over his words, which was interesting because like all you have at this point, he's not an active competitor to the point where he used to be. Of course, he could still work, and we saw him carry that Ric Flair match with Andrade back in the summer. So he can still go and get heat and figure out a way to work through a match. But all you have are your words and your promo. When you stumble with them as your first impression on the AEW audience, not great.
Look who's here, young Anthony. I was thinking about you tonight watching.
What's up, dude?
AEW, dude. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm very open to it. I want to see where it goes. I'm kind of tired of who is he out there with? Shoot, I'm trying to
Jay
think.
Lethal, Sanjay Dutt.
Sanjay Dutt, and what's his name? Just go away.
Well, I was just saying that about Jay Lethal. I think we always talk about when Ring of Honor gets a TV deal. I think that would be huge for a guy like Jay Lethal who got the win tonight. I know it was due to interference, but he needs to be presented in a serious fashion because he's such a talented, charismatic wrestler that is just another guy. If you never watch Ring of Honor, he just seems like another dude on the roster, which should never be the case.
What's up, Austin? Austin in the house.
What up, Austin?
This would be one that would be good for you, Ace. So is Sting injured or just taking time off? I think we alluded to this last week in the news, didn't we?
He is taking time off. I mean, from what I've read, it's just kind of wear and tear, just to bide more time and to separate Sting and Darby to not have them go a little bit stale. So
yeah,
they're not going to be off TV together forever. I think they just want to have them go their separate ways so they're not just an item all the time. Darby needs to do his own stuff as well.
Yeah, and I'm loving the feedback we're getting, the instant feedback in the chat tonight. Dynamite was amazing. Weird, yes. So we're getting rather, positive feedback mostly here. So not a lot of hate. Yeah, Jay Lethal could put on a good match with anyone. That dude is he's amazing.
Well, Justin, sound off in the chat. You messaged me on Instagram following this when I posted the promo for us doing the show. You said it reminds you of 2000s Nitro. I could see that a little bit, but I thought it was Nitro in a good way. I wouldn't say 2000s Nitro. It was chaotic. Yes, it felt like they were building something bigger. And we've been asking for stories. We didn't say it doesn't have to be something that we know the ending to yet. We don't know where they're going with Jeff Jarrett. So again, like young Anthony said, let's just hold our breath. Let's wait for it a second, see what they do. As long as Jeff Jarrett's not getting wins in the main event, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? They're not going to be doing that.
No, you know what? Again, I felt like tonight's episode, and we'll get into it as we go on, was just chock full of stories tonight. Like, I love that it's not hard to find stories anymore as we're watching the show.
For sure. So do you want to get into the news quick? I'll break down some of the main stories because there was some good stuff here. I'm going to just play a little
the news this week.
We got some good stuff. I'm going to do a little drop here. So I don't know. Let's do this.
Can we talk Claudio, please?
Claudio, excuse me. Pardon.
All right. So now Claudio, let's talk Eric Bischoff. And yet last week we talked about Eric Bischoff was kind of the aim of Tony Khan's ire on his Busted Open radio spot. And we saw Eric Bischoff be very, very critical of AEW and the product, trying to keep himself in the news. And Eric Bischoff's been involved in AEW for a bit. We've seen him on television. He's been involved with, I guess, the inner working. So it's weird to hear him, especially if he wants a job in AEW in the future, to be very critical. And he referenced the fact, Tony Khan being the person that referenced it, that a lot of what Eric Bischoff's critical of is something that he used to do on Nitro. Talked about disjointed booking, random matchups, not building up characters. And these are the comments that Bischoff made on his own podcast. As we remember last week, if you guys forget, Tony Khan said that Bischoff has been the most incendiary, contradictory, and hypocritical on the entire point, talking about his booking, talking about not having meaningful stories. So Bischoff had a couple things to say, and I highlighted the main things from his 83 weeks. And he talked about Nitro back in the 90s, said there were certainly random matches that didn't have any story in WCW. I'm not denying that. But I'm also going to point out, I don't think I ever said in any of my commentary about AEW that I believe every match should have a story. When you're introducing new talent or when you have talent that you really haven't matched up storyline-wise with an opponent yet, you want to expose that talent. You want the audience to become familiar with that talent. You want to establish that talent, sure, but put people in matches that don't really have story. But use that time in non-storyline matches to give us real backstory, information about that talent. He continues that he talks about my issue and comments about AEW and the creative behind it is really a bunch of top matches that don't have sufficient story or structure, or at least a compelling one. So that's been sort of everybody's criticism of AEW, that the stories have been lacking. Not at the main event, though. Right now, we have a very top-heavy thing with MJF and Moxley. I don't think you can be critical of that. Even the Punk stuff, as disjointed as it was and felt weird getting to All Out, it felt like we knew where we were going. I think the criticism can be more in the mid-card if we're being serious about it.
Yeah, the main events have never really had much of an issue. MJF was always involved in a story. Punk, he was involved in stories too, but he started right off with Darby. You got that. You got the brilliant story with Punk and MJF. You always get Jericho in stories, but it's like, other than that, the titles weren't even involved most of the time. Like, it's crazy. But I feel like since All Out, we've seen tons of stories building, like more than we've seen in the 3 years of AEW. That I feel like every show of Dynamite we're just seeing stories throughout the episode, and it's refreshing that actually here we are, and I feel like we've already got a solid card for Full Gear. And if you remember going into All Out at the same exact time, we're like, what's going to be on the card?
We didn't even have a main event on the Go Home show, if you remember that.
Yeah, I feel like they've listened to us, and they've really trying to, like, you can't get perfect overnight, but I feel like they've much improved over the last couple of months with everything.
100%. I think what they've been focusing on is those little minutia stories that are going in there. We can talk about it through the card. The Wardlow and the Hobbs thing has been strewn throughout the card. We saw a little build up last week, but we also saw Hobbs get involved in the main event after the match. I thought that's really well done, and it's planting the seeds for future things. And I think we can assume we're going to get Wardlow versus Hobbs at Full Gear. Maybe not, maybe somewhere down the line, but we at least have a feud for Wardlow finally.
And how long have I been clamoring for a Wardlow to go against Hobbs?
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect matchup.
It is.
Why not just have Hobbs take him to the limit and even take the title? Why not have Wardlow chase for a sec?
I just look at Wardlow and Hobbs and see these two young guys starting a feud now. This could be a feud that lasts for years, that they just keep revisiting. Right now, it could be for the TNT title, and maybe down the road, it's for the World Championship. Kind of like a Rock and Austin thing. I love it. I'm here to see these two behemoths of men just go at it, and just, and I don't even care who wins. Let Hobbs go over. Just give me a great feud. Let it go back and forth. Look, didn't The Rock and Stone Cold trade the Intercontinental title a bunch of times? So,
oh yeah, that's their original feud, was back in '97 for the IC title. Yeah.
I mean, these two guys are the future of this company. There's so many guys that are the future of this company, but I could see these two guys feuding for years. Absolutely. So
to finish up the Bischoff thing, he lasted, and I think this was sort of the main thing to pull away from this. He said, pay attention, Tony, build and grow your audience. You're going to have to do it with well-crafted, compelling, well-structured storylines. And I don't see it. I see excuses for matches, and that's not a storyline. So doubling down on his criticism of Tony Khan, similar to the Brian James Road Dogg approach, where he wants to be critical, but be asked back to help book. I mean, we know that Tony Khan's a huge WCW fan. He said it in the past. We could see it in his booking. He loves Nitro. I don't know if that's a way to get into Tony Khan's good graces, because right now everyone was yelling at him. I don't think he wants Bischoff coming in, arguing with him and being critical of his booking to the level he is, because you have to respect what Bischoff did. But for all the good Bischoff did, we're covering 96 right now. There's a lot of bad shit. Come on.
Yeah, of course. Dude, that's with every promoter, though. And listen, I'm going to intertwine our first story with Jeff Jarrett with this one. Does Eric Bischoff join the story?
For what? For this story?
Does he come and join Jarrett?
I mean, that would certainly be interesting to have him come and manage that group and Jarrett. I would take that.
100%. 100%. Is this whole little thing of them going back and forth a work that started a long time ago and they're just getting to it now?
I don't know about that, but I mean, I would be okay with them
Would you
turning
be
it into a
shocked?
story. I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, because Eric Bischoff is all over the place, and I don't know. I listen to 83 Weeks as more of like an intelligent consumer because I'm doing the 1996 WCW and I want to know his thoughts straight from the brain of the guy who wrote it. So nothing would shock me because it's all about, as he said in his book, controversy creates cash. So he'll do anything for a buck, and we've seen him went to WWE. He got carried and tossed into a goddamn garbage truck. Like we know that Eric Bischoff will do whatever it takes to get himself over and do what's right by wrestling. But I don't know. I think some of the criticism is straight from the heart. I think it's something that he feels very strongly about. He's entitled to that. I think he's earned that over the course of time.
And there you go. You get your reality-based story again.
There you go. I don't know if that's the one we wanted. We wanted the Elite versus Punk, but we're going to get Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett versus AEW. I guess.
Hey, listen, and we texted before tonight's show even started, and you're like, "No, I think the Elite's back tonight." And I said to you, "No, I want another commercial furthering it." And what did we get? What did you think of that commercial?
I did enjoy the commercial, and I like how they're actually playing into. I think you have it set on a plate right now for them to come back as heels and say, we set up this company for you guys and you forgot about us. You tried to erase us from history. I mean, I'm okay with it. And I like building up. I thought maybe you'd build up a match at Full Gear, but maybe you just have them return at Full Gear and have a nice moment.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the commercial tonight was fun again. It's kind of like, okay, all you guys are criticizing us and saying, oh, we shouldn't be here. We did this and that. And it's like showing us, hey, without them, there wouldn't be an AEW. That's essentially what it's showing, because it's showing them, it's eliminating them, and then it ends with the AEW logo going away. This is leading somewhere. This is not just commercials to hype that they're going to be back on TV. This is leading to a story. I don't know what the story is, but I like that they're starting to do little teases for stories, and I'm here for it. And you know what? Let's do another one next week.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for it, and I'm interested in where they're going, and it's the perfect way to bring Kenny Omega back as a heel. I think that's when he does his best work.
100%.
They set him up as a face when he comes back, and of course he can cut a scathing promo and be a heel again. But this is set up perfectly to just do that double switch and have him come back and be the ungrateful promo towards the fans and say, "I'm pissed that you guys forgot about us so soon. This is our company. Wouldn't be Elite without us." And it writes itself, really.
Exactly. We heard all you guys. You could even cut to that promo he cut back in West Virginia off the air. Like that, saying we're here for you guys, and he could come out and they could show that. And he say, I left my heart out on my sleeve for you guys. I told you the truth, and this was the way we were treated. Like, it's just leading to so many possibilities. I'm so excited for it.
He did call the fans cats and said you guys like shit in boxes and like you're annoying like cats. So I don't know. Kenny has a way with words.
I think he meant it in the most loving way, though.
Yeah. So the other news story we have here, just to go through it quickly, Mike Tyson's doing commentary on next week's AEW Rampage. So this will be the third time that he's going to be appearing on AEW television. So he'll be a special guest commentator for the show. He'll be joining JR at the desk. He appeared back in 2020 where he had that confrontation with Chris Jericho on an episode of Dynamite. As we remember, he presented the TNT Championship to Cody at Double or Nothing when he wrestled Lance Archer. And then this match looks like he's going to be involved in the All-Atlantic Championship match because it's an All-Atlantic City choose your opponent match. He may be the guy that's like introducing them. I don't know. What's your thoughts on Mike Tyson? I know he had a huge part. He's a huge history in Atlantic City with the boxing stuff. Also, WWF, he was involved in WrestleMania 14, huge part of the Attitude Era. You think he still has a place in wrestling and still has a draw?
My watch says it's 2022. Nobody cares about him being on wrestling.
Dude, have you seen him going against? I mean, he could still fight. You know what I'm saying? Like,
listen, I wouldn't get into a fight with him, but let's be honest. The people really talk about Mike Tyson the way they did years ago. No, he's not going to be bringing ratings to the show. Like, I don't really get it.
I mean, he lit social media ablaze a bit when he was thinking about coming back to. I mean, he might have come back to box. I'm not very privy to the boxing.
I don't think it ever. I know he did an exhibition and then he was supposed to do it.
Yeah, that was the one.
I don't think it ever happened in next one. So it's just no. Nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore. I'm sorry. I'm being honest. Nobody cares.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, that's a wrestling perspective, and I'm curious if you guys are out there and you are a boxing fan and we all watched Tyson growing up because of just the pay-per-view
Of course.
monster that he was.
I was so excited to
That
get
was
Mike
30 years ago, though.
I was so excited to get Mike Tyson on Friday night's main event to be referee in that match, and then he lost to Buster Douglas. He doesn't get to make the appearance, but Buster Douglas makes an appearance, and who cared
That
about
changed
Buster
Saturday night's main event, right? I listened to that
Friday
Something to Wrestle. They had Buster Douglas on instead.
I think that was a Friday night's main event. It was like
Okay,
one of
there
the
you go.
Friday night special ones. Yeah, it was a primetime main event. So, yeah.
It was supposed to be Tyson, and he lost.
And he lost the first match. This is the Buster Douglas. I would love to know, like, I've heard it in the past, but if you looked at the Vegas odds, it was some stupid amount of he was so positively going to win.
Wow.
So it's kind of the same way Ronda Rousey lost her first fight. So
true. All right. Well, moving down to other news we have here, we have another tournament, which is, I'm surprised we didn't hear the criticism in the Tavern chat. I'm shocked we didn't hear people say another tournament, maybe because it was just introduced a little quietly.
I was thinking young Anthony must be thrilled, but I'll tell you, I love tournaments. I'm here for the tournament. This is something they do every year at this time, so don't just eliminate it because they've had other tournaments. Bring me a tournament. Let's get that competition in there. Let's see who's going to be the #1 contender is. I love what they're doing with Ethan Page, but if I'm going to be honest, I have a little bit of a problem with it. I'm a big Ethan Page fan. I love the guy, and I want him to get a huge push. But all of a sudden, he's getting pushed straight to the main event. There should have been a slower build to that.
That's fair. I mean, I know he has the firm backing him, and he is probably the guy in the firm. I mean, you can go with W. Morrissey, might be the main guy, I guess, because he's been billed as the monster. But Ethan Page probably has the brightest future out of everyone in the firm if you look at everybody in that
100%.
group. So,
young Anthony, you get some credit, dude. All right. You came up with a good answer there. Perfect.
So just to be clear on this tournament, they only announced 2 competitors so far. So we only know Dante Martin, Ethan Page in there, and they're part of the World Title Eliminator tournament. The finals will be held at Full Gear. The winner will face the eventual champion, whether it's MJF or Moxley, at Winter is Coming in Texas, which is December 14th, which has become an annual event itself.
Yeah, that's what Sting premiered 2 years ago. So,
and that's where Kenny Omega won the title against Jon Moxley. So it's a pretty big deal. They're holding in Garland, Texas every single year. So it's becoming not a pay-per-view, but a staple event that they can plant their flag and say, we know it's coming.
I like how AEW does these shows. In the beginning, it was something new. I wasn't used to doing like a name show on your television. And I had to like rid myself of the Fed brain, but I like it. It makes it special that they're coming back every year. So I'm here for it.
So as Tom mentioned before, they have had this tournament a few times, and most notably last year, Full Gear, Bryan Danielson beat Miro in the finals for Full Gear, where he eventually went on to challenge Hangman at Winter's Coming. 60-minute draw, so we never got the championship win for Danielson, but we did. It led into a really cool match at Winter's Coming. 60-minute draw, which is, to me, their best match.
Yeah, 100%. Like, listen, I can't wait to see it. I think Friday night they said they're going to announce more of the matches, or more of the competitors. So I'm here for it. It's going to be fun.
Any early predictions of who would be in there? Obviously, we want some main guys. I mean, Dante Martin, Ethan Page don't scream main top guys yet. I mean,
I'm sure maybe we'll get Miro in there again. Like, we haven't seen Miro at all lately.
Yeah,
I don't know when Hangman's going to be back. Maybe he'd get a shot. I don't know. You have any update on Hangman?
Wow, this is the next story here. Tony Khan gave an update on Adam Hangman Page. That's why you're a true professional, Tom. He says he thought that everybody that was in the ring handled the moment that he got knocked out very professionally. So he appeared on First Coast News for a discussion about all things pro wrestling. Obviously, he was asked about Adam Page and said, you know, obviously we want to know an update on him. And he says Page is doing really well and he's remaining in good spirits. So this is the exact quote. I talked to him in the past 24 hours, and I also saw him not long after he was officially cleared, and saw him after he came back, not long after we took him to the hospital that he got out. It was great to see him in good spirits that night. About 90 minutes after he got hurt, he was smiling and feeling pretty good. That's about as fortunate as we could have been given that he got knocked out in the match. And then he goes on to compliment the refs and the doctors at ringside. Everybody handled professionally, specifically Moxley. So, yeah, I mean, everyone did the right thing, and Adam Page is going to be okay. We don't have an update about the time frame he'll be back. Main thing is he's okay. He was able to leave the hospital that night on his own volition. It wasn't like it was serious, but not as serious as it could have been. So happy to hear he's okay and hoping he can get back to being involved in the main event, because as we see, Tony Khan is all about the elite and he's all about everyone that is not CM Punk, as we saw with the challenger for Chris Jericho tonight. I think that was the biggest stamp we could have ever seen on the whole situation from Tony Khan.
And you know what? I got a phone call after Dynamite, but I meant to bring a fork down here because I'm finally tapping on this one.
Oh man, you're finally tapping.
He's done. As soon as I saw Colt Cabana, I shot the text out to the group text. I'm like, oh boy, Punk
Yeah.
is done. He's not coming back.
Yeah, it was the ultimate, like, you know.
Word. Still don't have official word. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we'll get to Colt Cabana in a second, but I was I wouldn't say surprised by the reception from the fans. I thought it would be a little bit mixed. I thought there'd be still some people out there that would either just be antagonistic, where they would just chant CM Punk to chant CM Punk. They didn't do that. It seemed like it was welcome back chants, Colt Cabana chants. They just, you know, and even some of the announcers made some tongue-in-cheek remarks as well, where he said, Mrs. Cabana's baby boy, and like they alluded to his mom. So I think everybody's trying to make light of the situation, where they did make reference that Colt Cabana had to overcome a lot of confidence issues to get back in the ring. So they're not hiding from it.
Let's be honest. Like Colt Cabana, no matter what anybody says, was a victim that day. He didn't do anything that day. His name just got brought up. He wasn't there. He wasn't poking anybody. He wasn't poking the bear. If anybody was poking the bear, it was the stupid dirt sheets and its fans, and he didn't deserve what he got. Like, did CM Punk really need to go out there and say this guy has a checking account with his mom? To me, the true victim that day was really Colt Cabana. Like, it's really crazy that the guy didn't deserve it. The guy's done nothing but love professional wrestling. Man, I'm getting a little salty towards CM Punk, and I hate it.
There you go. Join the dark side.
I still want him back, but
I'm officially blocked from CM Punk on Instagram. So there's an update for the news. He blocked me based on whatever in the news or something. He blocked me at Acefield Retro specifically. So I guess this should be honored in some way.
I hope you didn't tag me in it.
What was that?
And am I blocked by CM Punk?
You should check. I mean, Tavern's not. There's a lot of people that aren't blocked. I specifically am blocked.
How do you find out if you're blocked?
Try to look him up on Instagram. He didn't exist on my thing. I was like, did he delete his Instagram? And then I went on my personal account
and it was
with my friends and family, and CM Punk still exists. He just blocked Acefield Retro, which I feel like is more honorable than him ever doing anything. He took the time to block me. While you're looking up if CM Punk blocked you, I'm going to get into this next news story about Tony
Schiavone. That's what I'll say. Being blocked by somebody.
Yeah, it is an honor, you know. So Tony Schiavone's son, Matt, is being hired as a producer in AEW, and Tony Schiavone said he's very proud. So if you guys didn't know about Matt Schiavone, it's not like it's a nepotism thing, because he's worked for Fox News, MLB Network, StarCast, and he's responsible for building all formats for StarCast 2, 3, and 4. So a lot of experience in the business. So Tony Schiavone appeared on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and he talked about his son, Matt Schiavone, getting hired by AEW as a producer. And then he talked about how he'll be working and learning under Sanjay Dutt, and then talked about how AEW hired his son and they needed some help backstage. So he'll be working backstage. The Schiavone legacy is going to be continuing the wrestling business. So I like it, man. It's not, I know people, when you first see Matt Schiavone got hired, you think it's because of his dad, but the experience in his resume, the guy's experience in sports, experience in live television, you know, deserves it. I'm curious to see what he can do. He started on Rampage this week.
Yeah, listen, the guy deserves it. It's not like he doesn't have a history. He's walking out of college being handed a job. The guy has a resume. So good for him.
100%. So we talked about last week that the Kingdom signed multi-year deals, and we now know the reason why. FTR reportedly pushed heavily for it. And according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, FTR was pushing hard for AEW to sign the Kingdom as they were fans of their work. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett had just come off a reign as Impact Tag Team Champions and previously held the ROH Tag Team Championships. Taven, as you guys remember, had an impactful run as a soloist competitor in ROH, where he's a one-time world champion. So he was sort of thrown out there as potentially being Jericho's opponent tonight. So FTR does have a lot of pull here. I know that, you know, we've been seeing a lot of them being mistreated as far as booking goes, but when they speak, clearly Tony Khan listens. And if they see something in the Kingdom, I think we all should be supportive of it. And I think, again, going back to the age-old saying we keep saying down the line for about 6-7 months now, once ROH has a TV deal, a lot of these guys will have homes and be able to do meaningful things.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I like Mike Bennett a lot. I don't really know. Was Matt Taven? Is that his name?
Matt Taven, yeah.
Matt Taven. I don't know him as much, but cool. I'm here for it. If FTR is like championing for them, I'm for it.
So the last piece of news here, and it happened during Dynamite, but I feel like I have to mention it here. Shibata's officially back on Dynamite. We saw him appear at Forbidden Door to confront Pac. So this is him returning to pro wrestling. Well, we saw it at Wrestle Kingdom this year. He returned for the first time in 5 years at Wrestle Kingdom 16 in January. He wrestled Ren Narita. They weren't supposed to do any headshots. If you guys remember that, he was supposed to never wrestle again. He hit a headbutt on Okada. This was back in 2016, had a subdermal hematoma on his brain, collapsed backstage. They thought he potentially could have died. This was the same injury that killed martial artist Tim Hogue back in, I think it was a couple months later. So it was like right in the same time frame. So Shibata, if he wasn't treated correctly, if didn't go to the hospital, he would have went home. He definitely would have passed away. So he wasn't working since 2016. And the fact that he was able to be cleared to wrestle is a modern miracle. And we saw some stories like this with Bryan Danielson. Everyone said that he wouldn't be cleared to wrestle. We saw Edge was said he would never be cleared to wrestle. But with modern medicine and advances in technology, I guess people are feeling more comfortable. My concern really is the Shibata thing is a head injury. He is still using the headbutts, not as much as he did. But that match at Ren Narita, I'll be honest with you, it was very hard to watch with those headbutts because it's part of his, I mean, it's hard to watch because during the surgery that he had, they had to remove part of his brain and then put it back in. This was not just like, oh, like you have a concussion, go rest up. This was a very serious injury that he should be sidelined, or he's lucky to be alive. So the fact that he's going to be wrestling Orange Cassidy on Rampage for the All Atlantic Championship, I'm happy he's doing what he loves, but it's also scary to watch because, man, you're kind of rolling the dice here.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think Bryan Danielson's injury and his therefore his brain injury, and he then went on to do so much research and learn about the brain and rehabbing the brain, has helped so many others in the sport of wrestling and maybe even other sports. Maybe it will transcend to other sports because after Bryan Danielson, his last brain and his concussion was it in that arena, all over the arena match a couple of pay-per-views ago against
the Anarchy in the arena match. Yeah.
The doctor thought he was going to be having a talk with him about not wrestling again. And when they did the brain test, they said his brain was better than people who haven't had the injuries because of everything he's done and everything he's learned. So it's amazing when you know how to treat something the right way, what an effect it can actually have. So
yeah, I mean, we're getting Shibata, who's 40 plus years old. If I off the top of my head, I think he's 42 years old. He wasn't wrestling for a significant amount of time, had to retire in 2016. He appeared at the G1 Climax tournament in 2017 for the first time on television since the surgery, to a thunderous applause. He was crying in the ring. It was an emotional moment where he just said, "I'm still alive" in Japanese. It was a huge moment. But the fact that he's able to get back in the ring 5 years later, where he's going to be active and he's wrestling not on the special event, not on this huge stage like Wrestle Kingdom. Of course, that seems like a huge stage. He's wrestling on Rampage. And like, I know you want to get people to watch. It just seems like, damn, we're here already. It's Orange Cassidy versus Shibata on Rampage. Like,
are you saying Rampage is not a big deal? Is that
that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, I'm going to be watching. It's getting me to watch. And I guess that's the point. But I don't know. I think Shibata only has so many bullets left in the chamber to be out there. And I don't know if you want to waste one on a Rampage. Like, I'd almost just save it for a big event. I don't know. If I'm New Japan Pro Wrestling, who he's still signed under, I'd kind of want to wait for the active competitor to be done on their turf, on their events, you know, something like Dominion or Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. But listen, the guy who wants to come here and do it, if he's passed all the protocols he's got to pass and he's smart about it, you know, go for it. Or, you know.
So that's all I have for the news, but I'm going to get into this right here. And Tom, I'll ask you, I mean, we got a lot of requests from Tyson here to talk about that House of Black vignette that they dropped here. Lots of rebirth, fire, Julia Hart, laying them out to sea, lighting them on fire. What were your thoughts on how House of Black was presented here? And are you excited?
I've got to be honest. So I was watching, we were recording the debate. So I fast forwarded through the commercials, and I must have fast forwarded through this by accident because I did not see it.
All right, so I'm going to go to my notes here just to find the exact notes. But just so you know, they cut a thing. It's Malachi Black laying down. He's in a body bag. And so Julia Hart, seemingly she was tying a Malachi and Brody King and being sent to sea and ultimately burned, sort of like a Viking funeral. So then we hear the words in the background, as I wrote, "All must end, so all must suffer anew." Screen went black. Malachi's voice is heard saying, "Father of the Black Light." giver of the sight that takes, giver of the sight that creates, forgive me, Father, forgive me now, Mother. And then the hand shoots up through the grave, similar to the Undertaker coming back from the dead, and it flashes to Malachi's face. This was a good minute and a half. I recommend going back. I'm sure the AEW is going to post it. They showed all three guys, Brody, they showed Buddy, they showed Malachi. Julia Hart was, half her eye was messed up. She had a black contact in. My big hope is that they present them as main event players. I've been clamoring for a Brody King main event push, but for God's sake, let's get a main event Malachi Black push. Like, let's do it right this time. We finally have the right package. No more smoke and mirrors. Just bring him back. Their ultimate bet. Let them run amok on the roster and let them put the goddamn world title on one of them. And maybe in a year, you have a big giant feud, him and MJF. I don't care how you get there. I just want to be treated seriously. I don't need them in Rampage feuds. Not to shit on Rampage again. I feel like I'm just shitting on Rampage tonight.
I agree with you 100%. I'm actually watching a promo right now. It's up on AEW's Twitter. No, I don't have the sound on, but wow. I love it because I love House of Black. I love Malachi Black. I love Brody King. I love Buddy Matthews. And I think Julia Hart's done well in that role. So please give them a rebirth. Give them, Malachi came in so freaking strong, beating Cody. He looked like he was going to be pushed to the moon. Then all of a sudden you signed CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole. So much other shit started to happen. I feel like he kind of got lost in all that. So let's give it another go, man. This guy deserves so much. And this group is this group could be around for years, man. So let's go with it. Let's fucking go. House of Black.
Yeah, man. I'm not even having my eyes on the trios titles anymore. I feel like the trios titles were created for a group like them. I think now it's more. Now we need more. It's not just about the trios titles and have them feuding with Death Triangle. I need more. I need Malachi in the world title picture, and I need Brody and Buddy at his side, causing chaos on the roster. I want them thread throughout the whole show. It's not just a one-off. I don't want a 2-minute promo. I want them as main staples, similar to how Jericho is throughout Rampage and Dynamite. I need House of Black, just like JAS is running all over both shows. I need it to happen because that's the only way it needs to be done right.
100%.
The characters are strong enough. The build is strong enough. They're talented enough. There's no reason that they should just be a 2-minute commercial and we shouldn't have them from week to week. It's essential that we get it right this time.
Yeah, I agree. Those guys deserve it. They're so freaking good. Let's go. Let them just get so much. They deserve it. I want Malachi to hold it. Well,
Tyson, as I said, Smoke and Mirrors. He's singing Cody Rhodes' theme song. So Tyson, nice catch. I did say Smoke and Mirrors, but
I just watched that promo. Did they show the whole promo on TV?
They did, yeah.
It was like a minute and a half.
Yep.
Wow. How did I miss that?
Anthony, I'm not excited for House of Black until I see some change with the presentation. Yeah, I agree. I'm skeptical that they can get it right. They've got it wrong so often. Like they introduced Malachi the right way, but other than that, it's just been.
What do you mean?
If you remember,
no, I love the intro.
Me too. But they introduced Julia Hart. If you want to use that as an example, they introduced that and they were teasing it for so long when she was still with the Varsity Blondes, and then she turned evil. And then she disappeared from TV, and I think she appeared the first time on Dark. And it was like, what? We haven't seen her.
Yeah,
it should be a main story.
It should be a main story. Like, is that what you mean by presentation? Not actually their entrance. You just mean let them be winning and be fucking terrorizing.
Yeah, I think that's what he means for sure.
Okay. In that case, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I love their entrance. I loved all that stuff.
So I know we discussed the Jeff Jarrett stuff, but we didn't discuss the opener between Jay Lethal and Darby Allin, which
just have this loaded up here. Hold on.
Get it up.
There we go.
Jeff Jarrett. Is that a meme thing or is that actually on AEW?
Yeah, from AEW's Twitter.
Oh my God. He was just on SummerSlam.
Yeah. Well, he was released from WWE shortly thereafter. I think it was a week after SummerSlam. So from his role with WWE. So
wow.
So he is all elite. I didn't know if he was just going to be working on a per appearance thing or he was actually going to be there. I guess he's all elite. I guess he's got a contract.
All I have to say is everyone that Conrad touches turns back into money. Like starts a podcast with Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone's back in wrestling. Conrad is with Jeff Jarrett. Here he is again. Bruce Pritchard back with WWE in a big way. I mean, for now until Triple H
next week you see Conrad starts a podcast with Vince McMahon. What do you think?
Yeah, the No Chance in Hell brought to you by Blue Chew.
Let them
Ironically.
let them win and stuff, but also they just can't be the same House of Black as they were before they left. Needs to be a little change to that character. Nothing. Yeah, you could change up the entrance a little bit, make it maybe a little darker or something. I'm there for that.
It seems like they're killing something and
Yeah.
they're coming back. So
Yeah.
there's going to be some change, and we've seen in their own world, if you're paying attention, House of Black like shifts things. Not that AEW presents it themselves, but like the face paint started to become a thing. The way they actually dress and the colors they wear changed from just black. Now they're wearing green, by the fact that then they got to All Out, they're wearing more green and like aqua colors. Whatever that means in art, that we're looking at it. Hopefully AEW makes it seem important, because when you're on TV 1 week and then you're not on TV for 4 weeks, it's really hard to build any momentum. That's where they were stuck in. They were stuck in this weird purgatory.
I feel like that they were a major victim of that. Like, it seems like certain people come over and they get that, and they were definitely a victim of that. I feel like the TV has been straightened out a little bit since the House of Black last appeared on our TV as a group. So let's hope that's fixed for when they get back.
Yeah, so going back to that Jay Lethal versus Darby Allin match that eventually ended in that Jeff Jarrett thing at the end with Cole Carter dressed as Sting for Halloween. This was a fun opener. I thought this presented Jay Lethal looking like a legitimate competitor, and I always look at it through the eyes of the casual fan that's not familiar with Jay Lethal, and they have to be disappointed and be like, who is this guy? Why should I care about him? Because AEW has given us no reason to care about Jay Lethal aside from saying he's a former ROH champion. He's feuded with Samoa Joe. He's looked like a geek at every single turn. This is the first time I think he's actually looked serious. I mean, this whole thing where he dropped the door on Darby Allin, it seems like he's got to shake loose of the Sanjay bullshit and the Satnam Singh stuff. He needs to go off on his own. But it's the first time he feels like a legitimate main eventer. And I was happy to see it as a big Jay Lethal fan.
The other thing I don't really mind either is they're repairing Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal up. They teamed to go against Flair for his last match.
That's a very good point.
So it's kind of nice that, they're, without referencing it, these guys have a history. And if you're a wrestling fan, you know that. So to see them.
I completely forgot Jay Lethal was involved in that match until you just said it. I mentioned it before about how Jeff Jarrett was able to work the match in the summer. Completely forgetting Jay Lethal was involved.
That was SummerSlam weekend, actually.
Yeah, you're right.
So
that was what a shit show that was.
But yeah, I mean, Nakamura take on the Great Muta.
So do you think that this story has more intertwined with Darby, or does Darby just happen to be there to be the guy to get beat up? Do you think it's going to be a feud with Darby, or Darby just represents what they hate about AEW?
Yeah, because I think everybody looks at Darby as one of the pillars of AEW, one of the young guys, one of the homegrown talents. So I think it just makes sense if they're going to start a feud with AEW, you start with Darby Allin. It's kind of the same pattern that CM Punk did. CM Punk came into AEW, wanted to make a name for himself. He went after one of the young kids.
True. First match against Darby Allin, which
shows you what everybody thinks of Darby Allin. No, that's a huge compliment for him.
Yep. So next match we had here, so random. It feels like Jon Moxley went from going on vacation to working every single week in a night that he probably should have had off. Wrestled a world title eliminator match against Lee Moriarty, who's part of the firm. So it's helped building the story towards Full Gear. Obviously, we have MJF was involved in the firm, and everybody that is involved in this kind of has a part in the story. So during the match, though, they were distracted. Did you notice how distracted they were with Lamar Jackson entering, chanting MVP? And
yes,
at least they referenced it on the broadcast, because I think everyone was confused as to why they're not paying attention to a Moxley match.
Yeah, and even Jericho mentioned it when he came out. So, which I thought was smart to do. Like, hey, let's go with it.
Shout out to Long Balls. Check it out. Long Balls on Thursday nights. Check it out. Oh, Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights.
Yeah, Tuesday nights. Check it out. Chick Foley, Seth and Jordan on there. And we also have J-Bone and Hawk. They do a killer job covering the NFL. So
fun show if you're a fan of the NFL.
You guys can hear them talk about Lamar Jackson and all the stuff going on with the Ravens and hear why he's the thing. If you guys are not unfamiliar with the NFL, they'll get you guys caught up. So make sure you guys check it out. If you want to win some money too, Jordan, I hear, is giving out bets that hit every single week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this match was good. I thought Lee Moriarty got way more offense than I thought he would. And this was like, I mean, he took Moxley to the limit. I know that's a thing every single week. We talk about Moxley taking guys and building them, similar to the Wheeler Yuta match. I'm not sure this was on that level, but Lee Moriarty looked like a legitimate competitor in this match.
If you go back a year ago, Lee Moriarty was on TV more often than he is now. and he was putting on banger matches, and he hasn't been on. They haven't used him, and the guy's another guy who they could build up for the future of AEW. He's a young guy. He's super talented in the ring. I love it. This is where I wish, and I don't wish it now, but this is where I thought AEW could have used a title for these types of guys: Lee Moriarty, Daniel Garcia, so many of these guys, Dante Martin. Imagine their title for these young guys to feud over.
If you had to take one title from the past of wrestling, say from WCW, ECW, wherever, like what would you name the title? And what, like, would it be like a cruiserweight title or light heavyweight or
It maybe light heavyweight would be the way to go.
European title? I'm thinking of those guys, like a D'Lo Brown sort of mix, right?
Or maybe since you have the All Atlantic and the TNT, maybe you could have turned one of those titles into that.
Yeah, and there's no reason a guy like Lee Moriarty can't be involved in the All Atlantic Championship. Once it starts to get its feet under it, I think finally the All Atlantic Championship feels like it's stable.
Well, what if you shift a TNT title to that?
True. I mean, get it off of Wardlow if you're not going to defend it.
Yeah, either one of them would work. I think it'd be a fun thing to do. I'd love to see these guys have a division of their own as they're going up there. Come on, let's make it happen. Let it be fun.
Absolutely. So
it's kind of like, I hate to say this, but like a workhorse title, work class title.
Yeah, I mean, right now we were hoping that the All Atlantic Championship would be equivalent to the IC title. It's not that. Clearly, it's not.
No.
We need a workman title. Like, I don't think we need another championship right now. But like you said, maybe when ROH disappears from this universe and they go off on their own, maybe there'll be some room for it. And a lot of these guys, like Lee Moriarty, can go off to Ring of Honor and go to there and compete for their television title and be involved in the Pure Championship.
And all these guys go over there, and then you slowly could bring them back as you need them on AEW roster.
Yeah, I've heard the theory that they should use him as a black and gold NXT type of thing where you're just building them up and getting them ready for Dynamite.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, because that's like, from what I understand of Ring of Honor, it's just like a work rate league. So let these guys go there and put on phenomenal matches. Like the 2 Ring of Honor pay-per-views I've seen Tony Khan put on, every match was a friggin' banger of a match. Like, just a great wrestling match. So let these guys go there and just work.
Yeah, so clearly Moxley gets the win here. We know that that's the case. He submitted Lee Moriarty with a different type of submission. Didn't do the bulldog choke, did that arm breaker, which was interesting. So definitely a different move, straight from Bryan Danielson's playbook, using different submissions to win different matches. Ethan Page got one over, just like he laid MJF out last week. He laid out Moxley, and Excalibur put over the fact that Page was in the title eliminator tournament. They didn't mention anybody else, but they said on Rampage they're going to announce the other names that are going to be involved. So on Rampage, we'll have some more clarity about who else is going to be involved in this bracket. Looking at that empty bracket, there's 4 names on each side. So that means we're going to get 6 more names announced. Dante Martin, Ethan Page, and 6 more other guys. So there's a lot of names to be filled out here.
Yeah, it's fun. I can't wait to see who's going to be in it.
You mentioned Miro. I'm thinking of other guys. Right now, it seems like the odds-on favorite is for Ethan Page to get the win here. Yeah. I'm not sure if that has the drawing capability. Ethan Page versus MJF at Winter is Coming. I don't know. Maybe Adam Cole returns and he's in that tournament.
Now that would be cool if he's ready to come back.
Be awesome.
Let's get Ethan Page. Let's build him up the right way. Let's just not throw him to win this tournament and then lose to the champion.
That's what the issue is right now. When you have Ethan Page, he builds this momentum. And this was similar to when he first got his mini push, builds up the momentum just to lose to Wardlow or just to lose.
Did he come in and win the ladder match? Did he win it, or was he just
I think he was part of the ladder match.
No, he was part of it, but for some reason I thought he won.
You might be right. I know that Brian Cage won the ladder match on his first.
He made his debut there. So,
but that's the problem too. And I love that MJF's going to be the champion, but he's not having a short run. So anyone that goes and feuds against MJF, MJF's not losing the championship.
What about?
I don't know. It becomes a lame jack push. What was that?
What if it's Darby?
Would be cool.
Jungle Boy.
It'd be amazing. That would go back to your Stone Cold The Rock situation where you could look back at this match in 2022 when they're main eventing Double or Nothing 2026 in a big way, where that's the 2 biggest guys you have in the company, hopefully.
Remember MJF versus Darby to open the pay-per-view?
100%. That was last Full Gear.
Yeah, that was a year ago already?
Yeah.
That match stole the show. I'm like, how the hell is anybody going to top this match?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Jungle Boy.
Oh.
Or no, maybe not. I know that Jungle Boy and MJF opened a pay-per-view at Double or Nothing.
Oh, no. You know what? Might have been Full Gear.
Yeah. Pop in the chat, guys. Do some research. I know that both nights MJF opened Double or Nothing 2020 and also 2021 Full Gear he opened up.
I think was Punk versus MJF in the dog collar match.
Very good question. I would have to look it up, but
I'm pretty sure that was the dog collar match, Revolution.
that was, yeah, 100% Revolution.
It had to be Full Gear that Darby and MJF opened up the pay-per-view in just a
Yeah.
hell of a hard-hitting match.
Killer match.
Yeah.
Bottom line is they have good chemistry, and I just want them to have, eventually you have these guys as your main guys circle around the World Championship. And I know we want long reigns, and MJF deserves a long reign. I'm not saying take the title off of him, but the first guy that's being fed to him has to be done right. And if Ethan Page is the guy, just know you have to have a contingency plan after he loses, because he's going to lose. The most important part is what happens after Ethan Page loses to MJF at Winter's Coming, or whoever loses to MJF, because that's sort of the downfall of these mini pushes, and they eventually end in them losing. So,
yeah.
You know, Wheeler Yuta is a perfect example of how to do it right. Daniel Garcia, the same way. Wheeler Yuta has gotten big wins, but his initial big moment was in a losing effort. So he's the perfect example.
Yeah. Wheeler Yuta, the guy is gold on the mic. He's so good on the mic, too. Garcia, great in the ring. I'm not impressed with his mic skills. But that's okay. I still think the guy's a star. And you know what? He's got plenty of time to learn. He's working with Jericho. It's only going to get better.
100%. And this was the next segment too. I definitely want to hear your opinion on the Daddy Ass birthday bash. We finally get the foam fingers, which seems like a no-brainer at this point. Like, it's weird that they didn't make them already.
Dude,
this was a really fun segment.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Chicago, I was looking for the foam fingers.
They're on AEW Shop. I feel like you should order them because it's going to be something that people want after they're gone.
Yeah, I feel like I might order one.
It would look really good on my shelf back here.
So, man, the Acclaimed, anything the Acclaimed does is gold right now. I think it might be one of those things down the road, like where we look back and watch DX now, and it's like, but it's fun right now. It's fun while it's happening. It's fun living through it. The daddy ass thing with his fingers all taped up. I thought it was a great segment tonight. I have no problem. Like, it breaks up the show. You get a laugh. It's light, you know. It's great. It's freaking great. And you know what else we got during this whole thing? Stories.
Yep.
Building more matches. You know, you got the Ass Boys coming out and leading up to the Acclaim versus them. You got FTR coming out, taking the titles, handing them, staring at the titles, handing them over to the Acclaimed. Story here. It could go so many ways. So
yeah, and I like that FTR is involved, but not immediately involved, because we talked about it last week. You don't want FTR just steamrolling the Acclaim, because right now you'd be booking yourself in a corner, because the Acclaim's the hottest act in wrestling. You know, not in just AEW. They're one of the hottest acts in all of wrestling, the most over act that's going on right now. FTR is just sort of put on the back burner. They're still super hot. They get huge reactions.
Yeah.
In the moment, putting them in the ring, that's giving away your best WrestleMania level match so soon. Build up to it. Let FTR wrestle the Guns, and let Swerve and Our Glory finish their third match and get to that match and let it mean a lot. FTR versus the Acclaim could be a huge deal. Just don't give it away right now. Just let it build and simmer.
I think what might happen with that is maybe for Winter is Coming, we'll see FTR versus the Acclaim. So
what I was noticing too, I feel like there's going to be eventually not a heel turn from the Acclaim, but maybe a heel turn from Billy Gunn. And I think that's how you get the title away.
I think that'll happen eventually for sure. I don't want it yet. You got to write out this daddy ass, scissor me daddy ass while it's hot.
It's got to be done like the stock market. You pull out when the time is right. You don't want to pull out too soon, but you also
too long. You don't want it to go too soon, but you don't want it to go too long.
The last thing you want is the crowd to turn on it, because it could ruin how you remember in history. So it's got to be done right. There's got to be some nuance here.
They dropped a line about Billy Gunn not making it over to the reunion.
That was great. He had guest book, but others said they were upset he couldn't come to the reunions, which I think is petty on WWE's part. If you want Billy Gunn, just mention he's in AEW. Come on, let's be adults here.
Yeah, I guess we're just saying, there wasn't enough time to. I guess if they had a couple more days notice, they would have approved it. I don't know. Kind of sounds like a Vince McMahon petty thing to me. So,
yeah, it was weird. I mean, at this point, I did listen to sessions with you and Matt. By the way, great episode. You guys did mention the changes that Triple H had. I don't know. It seems like an old edict that probably should have disappeared. Where's the insecurity to mention AEW on television? We heard it in the past. Sami Zayn mentioned it all these years ago. Like,
yeah. I don't think it would have hurt them. And again, I think from what Road Dogg says, if they had another couple of days, it probably would have happened.
Yeah, for sure. And we know AEW doesn't need everybody on TV every single week, you know?
Yeah, and he wouldn't have even missed TV. It was Monday and Dynamite's on Wednesday. So,
yeah. So guys, make sure you go and check out sessions from yesterday, dropped this morning with Tom and Matt from Extra Cooler. Matt, one of the best guys on the planet.
Yes.
You know, took the time and chatted with you. It was a great episode. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, dude. I love working with Matt. He's so good. He's so much fun to work with. It's just like I love working with you, and I love working with Mike. There's so many good guys here to work with and talk wrestling with.
So this next spot, it's definitely going to be the topic of conversation for a bit. We've all clamoring. You guys saw the graphic that I made. I put every single ROH world champion. Tom, you had said in the chat earlier this week, Jericho alluded that didn't have to be a world champion. I did say champion, but he's not a world champion. So Colt Cabana, a former 2-time tag team champion with who? Second City Saints, CM Punk. So that was another dagger into CM Punk's heart. The only time that Colt Cabana has been ROH champion is with CM Punk. So that was another little dig at CM Punk that Tony Khan took the knife and dug it a little bit. What were your thoughts seeing Cabana come out in the reception? Did you feel good for him? I know we alluded to it before, but give me your thoughts on it.
My first thought was, wow, Punk is really done here. But yeah, I felt very good for the guy because I don't want people to be hurt. And, you know, the guy was sitting at home and listening to all this shit being talked about him. So he deserved it. Like, you know, lift his spirits up. He felt good. Like, he looked like he put on a few pounds when he was sitting at home, maybe. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's been a while since he's been active. And yeah. I mean, he still moved around pretty good. There was that one crazy spot where he fell off with Jericho that looked like it could have went really poorly.
Yes, I saw that. I'm like, oh, I don't think that was supposed to end that way.
No, definitely not.
Luckily, you know what? These guys are pros, and believe it or not, they do know how to help their fall. So, and as ugly as it looked, it could have been much worse, and they could have gotten hurt. So,
yeah, I mean, we saw him do the Asai moonsault outside to the ring, so he could still move around, doing some stuff.
So I say good for him getting that pop for the fans. He deserved it. You know, guys given so much to wrestling. Look what he's done for podcasting, for wrestling podcasts.
He was the original, truly.
Yeah, he really was.
The Art of Wrestling was pretty much the first wrestler. I'm sure there was probably one or two before him, but he was the guy who did it right. You know, that was the spot that Punk went to get his voice heard.
Yep.
He didn't go to Sports Illustrated. He didn't go to any other outlet. He went to his friend, the Art of Wrestling, Colt Cabana, and that's sort of what drove us here, which is so funny. Like,
CM Punk probably broke his TV.
Oh my God, the whole thing. And not to mention the Elite commercial too. Like that, it's like complete. You know, this to me, we all knew the side of the impartial investigation is over. We all know that everything's done. It seems like we have the EVPs back, the Elite's coming back. Hangman was back in a big spot 2 weeks ago when he got hurt.
Hangman
Colt Cabana's final spot is
Hangman wrestled that following Wednesday. That Wednesday, everything happened. So he was never even gone.
Well, I'm just saying in a big spot. Like he was not being put, like, I'm not saying he was driven down the car, but I thought it was a statement when you put him in a world title match in a big spot following all this.
He came right out in the first match for the World Championship tournament.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he could have easily took the easy way out, Tony Khan, that is, and said, you know, he's going to be out of the tournament and just go with somebody else.
He showed great, you know, backing for Hangman there, who, you know, he wasn't even involved in the incident at All Out in the media scrum aftermath. So
yeah, if you're a CM Punk sympathizer, though, you'd say he's the one that started it. So
yeah, like I said, I would love to know the true story. Sit down, talk to everybody, get the real details.
We'll get a dark side of the ring when all these guys want to make something extra.
So many holes to both sides of the story that we don't know, but I think the common denominator is CM Punk. But let's go on. What's next?
Well, I just want to say about this match, I think much like the Moriarty Moxley match, having the commercial break fall right in the middle hurt the match and the flow. Like, can we time these better? Like, I understand that sponsors need to get paid, but
if you notice in WWE when they do it, and not to toot WWE's horn, usually when you get in a you know, picture-in-picture commercial break, whatever, somebody's in a headlock. It's in a slower part of the match. There's not a lot of stuff going on. It seems like they've got their timing down a little better. I think AEW could learn just a little bit for the pacing of these matches.
They have a very hard time with the commercial breaks. And I did notice, as a diehard baseball fan with the World Series going on, Colt Cabana always has a hard time locking in that submission, the Billy Goat's curse. And today, the anniversary of the Cubs breaking that curse, November 2nd, 2016, when they won the World Series, that is the day that they broke the curse. So he did lock in the Billy Goat's curse on Jericho. So not sure if that's intentional, but I just thought it was kind of funny because, you know, Billy Goat's curse is the reason the Cubs didn't win the championship, and they finally broke it on this day on the anniversary 5 years ago. And here we are. 6 years ago? 6 years ago.
Speaking of which, those sons of bitches, Phillies, Astros just threw a no-hitter against the Phillies in the World Series.
Oh shit! They actually finished with a no-hitter. So we got
Yep.
2-2. We're gonna go 7, man. I think we're going 7 in the World Series.
Well, let's see if Verlander hope he chokes tomorrow.
Wow, that's crazy. A no-hitter after what they did. I mean, Philly, that's a bandbox, dude. Not that we're gonna go off on a baseball.
No, we can, but I'm not going to. So did you cringe tonight? Did you cringe like I did when Britt Baker was on in her backstage segment?
It was pretty bad. The Soraya segment was horrible too.
That,
I'm being honest.
but I'm talking about one specific line. Did you catch it?
I don't think I caught it. I mean,
all
run
right,
it by me right now.
The best female tag team in the world.
Yeah, with Hater. Yeah, I didn't cringe on that, but I also it just kind of washed over me. I didn't even think about it.
Yes, friggin' women's tag team titles.
Yeah, Tom, you're onto something. I think they may be trying to shoehorn those tag. We're going to be adding those titles underneath us, those women's tag team championships.
Why
soon.
else do they keep doing women's tag team matches and have her drop a line like that? I guess a tag team, she said. Oh,
damn.
It's going to be the Jumping Bomb Angels.
I think Jamie Hayter's going to win the title of Full Gear, so that all will be right in the women's division.
I hope so, because you notice they don't even mention Thunder Rosa at all. Did they even say interim anymore?
They do. Yeah, they did mention interim, and they did. That's on the graphic too. So,
okay. It'll be interesting. I hope Jamie Hayter gets it.
So the All Atlantic Championship match was a lot of fun. I thought they presented Luchasaurus in a really awesome way. They definitely had some creative ways to continue to make him look strong. Rey Fenix is just, I mean, an absolute animal in the ring. The things he can do, it's out of this world. What he's able to do in the ring. Clearly, Orange was never losing the championship. I know the criticism that we were both talking about is having champions lose right after winning the championships, and Rey Fenix was the one that took the pin here. I mean, he's a trios champion. There is some dissension with Pac because he didn't want to cheat, so maybe they're going to be losing the trios title sooner than later. I like the story here, but I also, looking at it in a vacuum, I don't like that Rey Fenix got pinned, but I also know that Luchasaurus couldn't get pinned, so I don't know. I guess it's the lesser two. We got a very exciting match for the All Atlantic Championship, but I like to see the champions protected.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I said it last week right here, so said the same exact thing last week. We're on the same page with that.
Shibata comes out after, and they sign that match for, believe it or not, Rampage. It's Shibata versus Orange Cassidy.
They're announcing this for Full Gear, and it's
or a year from now, like the Wrestle Kingdom in January, like that's how big it should be.
Yeah.
And we're getting it this week with 2-day build.
I will say this. More importantly, what this whole thing said to me is that AEW still is working with New Japan.
True.
So.
New Japan and Noah are going to be the huge common denominator to get WWE and AEW in the same room to eventually get. I'm not saying we're going to get the Super Show. We're not
going to listening to Sessions and you're stealing Matt's thoughts.
No, I'm not. No, I understand. That is what I'm referencing. I did say I was saying that, but we're not going to get them in the same room to do that. But the common denominator is New Japan and Noah. They're the ones, like, if you're shaking hands with both these guys and then AAA's involved and then you got CMLL involved, all of a sudden there's crossover. Like, guys are going to be going over there, and if Shinsuke can work with Noah, what's stopping Shinsuke from working with AEW? It's just egos at this point.
Yeah, and the fact that they're allowing it to happen and not asking for, since Shinsuke is working with Muta, they're not asking for an exclusivity deal. They're just letting him do it because a couple weeks later, he's fighting Sting from AEW. So he's teaming with Sting. So it's exciting times to see where this goes. And and again, I believe this whole Carl Anderson thing with the neverweight champion.
He's the never openweight champion.
Never openweight champion. Like, I feel like everything that's going on in social media is leading to story. Because when Brock dropped the title, the New Japan title, and he came back to WWE, New Japan barely even mentioned it.
True.
Like, mentioning this, so
well, they knew that he needed to drop the IWGP Championship because no one was fucking taking it from Lesnar. Yeah. So they were like, no, well, let's just play nice with Lesnar. Let's not piss him off.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's fun friggin' times to be a wrestling fan. And I also really like the way WWE is presenting Anderson and Gallows this time around. So
yeah, I didn't mind the last time too. Like, I didn't mind when they were first with AJ. I know they got muddied up with being kind of geeky henchman style, but when they first were brought in, they were cool.
I feel like to be in In the very beginning, yes, they felt like they were a threat, but I feel like they're really being respected more for their wrestling talent, even as individuals, single talent. So
And who would have thought they're the true Forbidden Door? Like
yeah,
they've been everywhere. NXT,
that's true.
New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Yep.
ROH, like they've been everywhere.
Yeah. So, and the guys are freaking talented. They're entertaining no matter what they do. I loved them when they were part of the Elite in AEW. I loved them in their WWE first run. So they were good in Impact. So let's go. I love them.
All right, let's, just because we want to use this drop, let's talk about the main event quick. And I don't have much to say on it, but let's just talk about it.
It's time for the main event.
I have a little bit to say on it.
All right, give me what you say, because to me it was just a solid big man match. I was expecting something different to happen here, but tell me what you liked and didn't like about the match.
I just didn't care for this being the main event.
Fair.
I felt like also I'm going to be a little nitpicky here. I felt like it was just 2 Ring of Honor title matches on one Dynamite was a little too much for me.
Agreed. I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah. So,
see, I was kind of hoping for something different here, and I do like that they're building up Hobbs, and they were hinting at it. What I kind of wanted to happen was just to make things interesting, have Samoa Joe and Brian Cage go for the championship. Obviously, that happened. Wardlow comes out, tries to cost Brian Cage, and interjects himself and costs Samoa Joe by accident, builds some tension there. Because ultimately, I want Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT championship.
that'd be
And with the TV championship intertwined, you can't have them really wrestle. They're tagging. There's that messy situation where they're both faces. I don't know who would turn heel. I think Samoa Joe's the natural heel out of the two, especially since Wardlow became this uber face.
Yep.
That's the money match to me. I think Hobbs, it's a fun match. I think it could be interesting to see where they go with it. I think to get the TNT championship back to where it should be, Samoa Joe, who's no longer TV champion, taking on Wardlow for the TNT championship, not just in a one-off, in a long freaking feud where you can push Wardlow to his limits. Because who better than Samoa Joe to be a monster heel in AEW? Just get rid of the ROH TV title. You should put it on Brian Cage, have it with the embassy, and let him do his thing. Yeah. Samoa Joe shouldn't be muddied up with this because he's always tied in with these minuscule stories. He's a bigger presence than that.
I agree.
So that was my thing, and I was just kind of hope maybe that's where we're going, because like usually with these tag, maybe that's Fedbrain popping out a little bit with the tag teams. Eventually they break up and they go after each other. But to me, that's where the money is. Wardlow versus Joe. I think
I'm there for Wardlow versus Hobbs as well. So
100%. But if Hobbs isn't winning the TNT title, I don't know.
I think
and Tyson, yes, we did skip over the TBS title match because let's be honest, it was horrendous with Nyla and Vicky screaming. Not a good match, not a good segment, just bad all over. I love Jade, but this was horrible.
It's not how it's going to end. Not and maybe not tonight.
If you guys want the breakdown on, they're probably going to put in forgettable fodder, but Tom will be on the flagship with Chad later, but
it'd definitely be forgettable fodder.
It's forgettable fodder.
But,
all right, so before we go, dude, I just want to read down the Full Gear card and Dynamite and Rampage. So for Rampage on Friday, as we mentioned, Orange Cassidy will be defending the AEW All-Atlantic Championship against Shibata. To remind you guys, Shibata is returning to pro wrestling for the first time in nearly 5 years. Back at Wrestle Kingdom 16 in January, he beat Ren Narita. So his career as a pro wrestler had largely ended since suffering a hematoma during a match with Okada back in 2017. So this is a big deal. This isn't just a random one-off match. Really big deal. He's going to be competing on weekly television. We get Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue and Madison Rayne. We're going to get more names announced for the Eliminator tournament at Full Gear. And we get Iron Mike Tyson on commentary. For Dynamite on Wednesday, we have only one match announced. It's a 6-man tag match, or 8-man tag, I should say. FTR and the Acclaim versus Swerver and Our Glory and Gun Club. And for Full Gear, man, we have some decent matches lined up. So the TNT Championship, not officially announced, but we can all assume it. We've been watching wrestling long enough. It's Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs. We're going to be getting the finals of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. The Tag Team Championship will be on the line. The Acclaim versus Swerve and Our Glory. The Women's World Championship will be Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter. Give you guys some context of this. This will be the second singles matchup between the two of them. They wrestled last year in May in the first round of the Owen Hart Women's Foundation Tournament. Toni Storm defeated Hayter in the first round matchup on May 11th. Did my research there. And of course, the main event, Jon Moxley versus MJF. We're expecting a crowning moment for Maxwell Jacob Friedman right in the backyard of his hometown. Not quite Long Island, but they'll be in New Jersey. decent card. We got some decent matches. It's gonna be a fun night of wrestling.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait for Full Gear. I think me and Matt are headed there.
I wish I was going. I do have my obligations for the Tavern and for independent wrestling. It's the same night. I'm not sure why all these indies are running the same night. It seems like a bizarre tactic, but hey, man, wrestling's wrestling.
Wrestling is wrestling, so got to support it all, baby.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Tom, give me what's going on. Sessions was killer this week. What do you guys have planned for Fig Night? I know you weren't on this week, but Mike held down the ship. But what's going
Mike
on?
Hosted Fig Night by himself because I had to work a rare Tuesday because we had a special promotion going on at the casino for the 8th anniversary of the Poker Room. But he crushed it. He unboxed the Cody Supreme Walmart exclusive. So if you want to see that figure, go check it out. Mike did a great job as usual. Sessions is back every Wednesday. Hopefully, I believe Mike will be joining me next week to get back on track with Mike. And if he's not back, I'm going to be having some fill-in guests when he can't make it. So, we won't be missing any more episodes because we love our sessions and it's fun to do whether I have Mike or a guest because I love talking with other people at the Tavern too, or maybe people out of the Tavern. That's it, really. I'll be on the flagship tomorrow. I'm going to do it right now. So,
Is chat starting right now? Or are you just hopping into where he's at?
Yeah, I'm hopping in. So, Sneedo, best wishes to you. Feel better, buddy. We need you back here. So rest up, do what your doctor says, and get back here. So
100%, Sneed. We're all thinking you, man. Get better and do everything to feel better. That's the main thing because health is your health, man. You got to feel good.
Yeah.
So on our end right here, Shot Nostalgia, we have episode 29 coming up this Friday. We're going to be covering 3 episodes of Nitro. So we're going to be jamming 3 episodes of Nitro, which includes the Go Home show for Starrcade 1996. Culmination of Hogan versus Piper. Episode 30 is right around the corner. That's next week. That's the finale of WCW 1996. And that's it. We're done with 1996. We get back in the DeLorean. And then the next week, we're going to be all the way in ECW 1995 covering. The show is going to look similar, but also different because Meltzer doesn't cover it the same way. There's not as much content. Not sure the length of the shows, but you know how I am. I'll wind up talking for an hour and a half anyway. So I'm just curious at how we're going to receive the product because some of the stuff is really VHS quality and it's not great. So curious to go down the journey with Mike Belcaster. It's a shortened season, so stay tuned for what's in store for season 3. As I mentioned to Tom earlier, on November 19th, there's going to be a Victory Pro Wrestling show in Bayshore, Disorderly Conduct. I'll be there for the Tavern, represented at the table, giving out stickers, giving out keychains. If you're over there, come say hi on the, I know Full Gear is the same day, but if you're not going out to Full Gear, you're going to watch it on demand like me, come out to see some great pro wrestling. Jack Tomlinson, alumni of the Acefield Retro Bell to Bell interview sessions. He was also on Coming Down the Aisle. Great guy. He'll be there defending his world championship, maybe against Mike Anthony, maybe against somebody else. And also I'll be filming some content too. So got my portable mics, who knows who's going to show up, and Desmond Cole, who just defended his remarkable heavyweight championship on Haunted Halloween Havoc. He'll be there defending his New York State championship against Pretty Boy Collins. So a lot to go on, a lot of stuff going on in independent wrestling. Been a busy last few weeks and months for the Ace of the Tavern. So I'm having a really good time.
So I got some breaking news before we sign off of here. Tony Khan sent out a tweet. Hold on to your hat for this one. Welcome to AEW Dynamite, to the new AEW Director of Business Development, Real Jeff Jarrett. So not only he's an Iron talent, but he's also got a role.
Wow.
On the business side. And Tony Khan also goes on to say, I look forward to expanding the AEW live events calendar in 2023, plus in future years with JJ. So, and our entire great AEW team.
I mean, we wanted him to have some minds of the business. I'm not sure if we'd all sign up for Jeff Jarrett.
Not a bad move.
It's not a bad move.
Around, he knows the business. It ain't going to hurt. So
it's definitely not going to hurt to have a different mindset that is contradictory to how you feel.
Yeah.
And maybe Jeff Jarrett has a more tactful approach than a guy like Eric Bischoff who disagrees with him, but I'm here for it. I mean, again,
absolutely.
I think Tony Khan needs to have a sounding board in there to sound off some of these ideas to get another person who's been in the business, whether it be Impact or the Memphis territory stuff, or think about all the stuff that Jeff Jarrett's been a part of, for better or for worse. WWF, WCW, he's seen it all pretty much.
Yeah. All right,
and
guys.
He said when things can get pretty bad too. So let's just go with that as well. He's seen when he's been sort of the catalyst for some issues. So maybe he can soothe some old wounds.
He's definitely been around. So it's a very interesting move. I think it's a good move for AEW. The more minds you get in there, the more great wrestling minds you get in there, the better your company is going to be. the more people that you could listen to, the more ideas you could hear. You pick out the best ones. So
100%.
So it's a good move. All right, guys. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us, guys. If you haven't yet, go check out theturnbuckletavern.com. Follow, like, and subscribe to us everywhere you possibly can. Join our Discord. It's our first link up there. Listen to our podcasts. Watch our streams. Do it all. Until next week, for Ace, it's Tom. Love, peace, and pro wrestling.